What's up, everyone? I'm going to be talking about the lane mechanics, skills, and stats in this video and how they all kind of relate to each other so you can make better like stat choices and skill choices and all that for career and team trials. I'm going to start out with the different race phases since a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about in terms of stats and whatnot are going to reference back to this. But a race is divided into 3 phases. You have the early phase, which is anywhere before this line on the little, if you're on a race, you know, you have this at the top of your screen. This line and before is the early phase. So if you have any skills or anything that go off in early phase, they need to happen before this. Early phase is just, you know, everyone trying to accelerate to, I guess, the set pace. Anything after this line, but before this line is the mid phase. Up until halfway through the mid phase, the game puts your characters in like a kind of a set formation based on what your style is, right? So if you're a front runner, the game will try to make sure the front runners are in front of the pacers and the pacers are in front of the late and end are kind of mixed, but late should be slightly ahead of end in terms of styles. And the game kind of forces this up until halfway through mid. So just be aware of that. If you have 1200 speed and you're in end style, you're not gonna just like come out of the gate and just be ahead for the whole race, because the game just doesn't let that happen. After the middle part of the mid phase, it lets go of that, but the racers still won't do anything special, right? You still won't suddenly start going the max speed that you can go. If you gain, like, let's say you gain a velocity buff in here, right? You have some skill that can proc in the mid phase, and it goes off after halfway through the mid phase. You'll gain that velocity while the skill's active, and then you'll lose it. But that position that you gained from that skill, like, so if you're in 8th and you ended up in 6th after the skill end, you'll still be in 6th, assuming nobody else is popping any skills. Because everyone's just kind of going at a set pace. Once you get to late phase, from here on out, this is where, assuming everyone has enough stamina, they will attempt to run at the highest speed that they're capable based on their speed stat, which we'll go over later. But you just need to know that as long as they have enough stamina, they'll just try to run as fast as you can. This is where races really get hectic, and you'll see people in the back and whatnot really just pick up speed. This spurt phase in here, this isn't actually its own phase. It's like the home stretch of the late phase. The why I have this out here like this is because there are certain abilities like this one here in Body and Mind, which will only activate in the last spurt. But something like Pressure here will go off anytime within the late race, so it'll happen in the blue or purple section. Just for numbers' sake, this early phase is 1/6 of the race. The mid phase is half the race, or 3/6 of the race, and then the late phase is 2/6 of the race, with the last half of the late phase being spurt. So that ends up being 6/6. That's the whole race. One thing I want to point out before we get into the stats for this gold ship is this gold ship's not built super well. This is just my latest gold ship run. She had a 9-star power inspiration, so her power is like really high. Doesn't need this much power. She could definitely have less and have more stamina and speed, and that would be good. All right, so let's talk about stats. I already said this, but speed increases your max speed, and it's mostly for the last phase. It does seem to play some effect earlier than the last phase, but it's not a super big deal. So this isn't, again, this is primary for last phase. Stamina is, you know, how much endurance or HP your character has, how much they can run before they get tired. Drains over the duration of race, and as I said earlier, stamina is also checked at the last phase. So as you approach the last phase, your character will look at how much endurance or HP it has left, and based on that number, it'll decide how significant it wants its last phase, like struggle or burst or whatever, to be. If you have no stamina entering in the last phase, you just won't have a speed up in the last phase at all. If you have less than the required amount to do a full like speed increase, then either you'll have a smaller speed increase where like won't be maybe your acceleration will be lower, your max speed will be lower, or you'll just start your big final push later into the phase. They'll just delay it. So stamina is super important because like when a race is decided really in the last phase who's going to win or lose. Another thing with stamina is these recovery skills here. They'll restore a percentage of your endurance or HP. So the higher your stamina is, the larger your total endurance or HP pool is. So the more endurance or HP each one of these skills will restore. For longer races, that means that these will be much stronger because you'll have a higher stamina, you'll need more recovery, etc, etc, etc. For shorter races, these aren't as valuable, but in team trials, you get a point score based on the number of skills you activate. It's one of the bonuses you get in team trials. So even if you have these on like a sprinter or something, they could potentially help you get some points, even if they don't help you win the race. Power is acceleration, so it's really needed for the last phase push because you need to reach your top speed in a reasonable amount of time. And it's even more needed in shorter races because that last phase is a shorter distance, so you have less time to reach your top speed. So you need more acceleration to try to get there. It also has a small effect on how detrimental it is running to up hills. You probably don't even, if you don't like know the mechanics of the game, you probably not even notice the hills because they're like little baby hills. But they do exist in game. There is uphills and downhills. So power helps you not expend extra stamina going up hills and help you keep your speed that you're supposed to be running at. Guts is kind of a bad stat right now. It doesn't have like a ton of uses. It lowers your stamina drain in the last phase, like struggle or sprint or whatever you want to call it. But other than that, it doesn't do a ton. It will be used more in the future when the game is updated to add the newer mechanics that were added into the JP version of the game. So right now, Guts is a pretty low priority stat, but in the future, it will have a much bigger role to play. The last stat is Wits. This is like your skill activation. The higher your wit, the more likely you are to use skills, and also the higher wit, the more unlikely you are to rush. It also has a small thing with hills again. If you have high wit, your speed will increase and you use less stamina going downhill. One thing to note about wit is your wit is impacted by your style, but not in skill activation. So if I were to run this gold ship as a front runner, it would significantly reduce her wit when the game's looking to make checks on whether or not she ends up rushing or not. If I run her as a front runner, she'll still use all her skills that she still can use if she's not limited by like the skill having to be used from a certain position or anything like that. So what a lot of people will do is they'll run their girls in the front position early on in career so that they don't get boxed in and you don't lose races because your character just got blocked by other characters. Eventually they'll switch this out of front position so that they can use their skills and stuff like that. Because again, you'll end up rushing a lot more from the front. The other stuff to talk about for affinities is track and distance. These give, I believe, a speed bonus. It's like 5 to 10% on an S. A is just no stat change, and then anything below A is a stat detriment. In general, just run stuff you at least have an A in. Don't run stuff below A. Maybe you can run B if you have to do something, but just run A. The skills, a lot of them are very vague in what they do. They don't tell you. There is a website that I use you can look all this stuff up, and it's where I got most of these, like the mechanic stuff for this video, and it's called Game Tora. There'll be a link to it in the video description, but it'll tell you exactly what all the skills do. So if you want to know more information, you can check it out. Like outer post proficiency. This one is if you're in gates 6 to 8, you get a speed boost. The first one's 40 for the first rank of this, and then the second one's 60. So it should be 100 total. 100 extra speed just for starting in the outer post. So with everything we just talked about, let's go take that gold ship into one of these story races, because everyone in one of these stories or races is like really low stats, right? So this gold ship, whose stats are, they're pretty good. should absolutely just dominate this race. So you can even look at the runners. You see they have like 100 to all their stats, right? So Goldship is clearly completely outclassing these people. So first, I'll run her as an end just to show you that even though she has 600 more speed than all the other racers, in the beginning of the race, she's going to come out of the gate fast, but then she's just going to let the other racers go in front of her because she's supposed to be in the back. So even like at the very beginning, she was outpacing them, and then she stops. She stops pushing because she's not supposed to be that far up. And then the race will more or less continue like this until we get to the halfway point. So she's pushing here. There'll be a point where the AI will be like, hey, you're going too fast. There it is. And then she slows down. So even though she can outpace all of these racers, she won't, because she's not supposed to, according to the logic of the game. Okay, so now she just rushed. Ah, she already stopped. But you could saw she started to push a little bit and then stopped. So now she's just going back to where she's supposed to be in the end. Once we reach halfway, the game won't tell her to slow down if she's going too fast, if she's out of position, but she also still won't run at max speed. That won't happen until late phase. All right, so here comes late phase. She's gonna run now. The thing is, at the beginning of late phase also, I mean, you're not going to notice it here because she has so much more acceleration than all the other ones. But in a race where your character is kind of like equally statted in acceleration to everyone else, you might not notice your character speed up because all the characters are speeding up. But I mean, you can see in the race, Goldship's way faster. But up until this point, she just wasn't allowed to run at her full speed. So now, I mean, the race is over. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody else. And there you go. There's in body and mind. Didn't proc until the last spurt. And she used her other ability, which I think is just last corner, you know, on the corner. So we look at that from her end position there. You can see that, I mean, she was held back just because she needed to be running where she was supposed to be running. If I were to switch her and we were to do this race again. All right, well, apparently I can't run her again for this race. I was pretty sure I did this the other day, but anyway, we'll just run Super Creek. It's fine. She also has more than enough stats to, you know, completely demolish this race. So instead of running her in some position where she's supposed to be behind somebody, let's run her front. She has a bad rating in front, right? She's a D rating. So she might end up rushing, but she'll still activate all her skills that she can. And this is where speed is like a little bit more important for front runners, because she'll actually go out and kind of set a larger pace from these other runners. I actually don't know what their stat lineup is, but I assume it's like in the 200s or something. But because she set the front run, now she'll actually run quite a bit. You see, like, the back is having trouble keeping up. They will eventually kind of speed up just to try to make sure that the race isn't just like a complete blowout from the beginning. So you can see either Creek slowed down or these ones sped up. You're not really sure which one it is. But Super Creek's also trying to keep in front of 5. If there was no pace setter on her, or I don't know, maybe this is a front runner. I'm not sure what she is. I didn't look. But she is set to like make sure these people don't get in front of her because she's a front runner. This is why in the early game it's a good idea to keep your runners as front runners even if they're not good at it, because they can't get boxed and they'll stay in the front. So in the last phase they'll just be in a better position. So we're past the midway and nobody's running at full speed yet. Ogiri's kind of gaining. But once last phase actually hits, Super Creek will run at full speed. So they're now both accelerating, so it doesn't look like anyone's going faster. It looks like Oguri just hit top speed because she's slowing down. Or it's more of Super Creek is continuing to accelerate. There you go. She still used plenty of skills, even though she had a D rating in front running. But yeah, that's pretty much all the mechanics. I said this earlier a bit, but yeah, the biggest thing is acceleration and velocity aren't good before halfway through the mid phase. If you take a skill that gives you velocity mid phase, it needs to proc till after halfway through mid phase, or it most likely will get wasted. The only exception to that is acceleration in early phase is super good for front runners, right? There's an ability that front runners get that gives you acceleration in early phase, and that's super good because your front runner always wants to be in front. Usually they have skills that play off leading the race, and if they're not leading, they can't proc those skills, which then sets them back, etc., etc. But yeah, that'll be it for this video. I hope this helps people understand the race mechanics, stats, how everything interacts with each other, so you can win some careers and set up characters for team trials and stuff like that. Good luck out there.